It's the 8th of May and I'm Tom Glasson. Welcome to The Roast. Now, Fairfax journalists have gone on strike today, and knowing that bunch, they probably hit a clue in the crossword. Okay. 9 across, when you don't go to work because your bosses have mismanaged their media empire and are sacking a large portion of the workforce. 6 letters. God, I hate cryptic clues. Does quit have 3 T's? Tonight, the coalition claims it's cleaning up Labor's mess and journalists go on strike. So it's a good thing I'm not a journalist. First, though, Mark Humphries joins us with a compelling in-depth report on the current situation in Europe.
The Eurovision Song Contest, where the outfits are louder than the music and a woman with groomed facial hair doesn't look out of place, will hit our screens this weekend. This year's Eurovision is special for Australia, as our own Jessica Mauboy will be performing in the interval of semi-final 2, meaning even the contestant from Israel will be questioning the definition of Europe. It's been a long time coming for an Australian to perform at Eurovision, but if anyone was doubting whether it would live up to expectations, can you say flying astronaut holding the Aboriginal flag? Terrific. Now, let's see some of the competitors this year, starting with semi-final 1. We start with Latvia, whose song about baking a cake makes me think maybe John Lennon wasn't the greatest songwriter of the last 50 years.
I've got a cake to bake and got no clue at all.
It's at this point you should know this beat out 23 other Latvian songs to get to Eurovision. I'm guessing those other ones were about making a sandwich. But don't worry, this MasterChef ultimately finds a killer recipe.
Make some dough, add some love, let it bake, wait for it.
Between you and me, I don't want any of his love to end up in my cake, creepy rat. Here's an artist's impression of what a cake following that recipe would look like. But if you think a song about cake baking is a little light, you might prefer the Hungarian entry, in which the lyrics are about child abuse. If I wanted to see child abuse at a song contest, I'd watch the Junior Eurovision Song Contest. Someone called Docs. And speaking of Junior Eurovision, Russia's Tolmachevi sisters, who won that competition in 2006, have graduated to the big leagues this year. Unfortunately, it seems these identical twins still aren't old enough to prevent their parents from dressing them in identical outfits. The contestant from Ukraine is also competing in this semi-final, meaning if she wins, Russia will no doubt claim her as their own. Albania has sent a woman who looks like she eats children, and I'd fancy her chances if her backup singers weren't all listening to their iPods. Also in semi-final 1 is Armenia, represented by a man identified as Aram MP3, who must have confused name with file type when filling out his entry form, and Iceland, who have sent the band Polaponk, which I'm guessing is Icelandic for bearded wiggles. In semi-final 2, Austria's contestant goes heavy on the smoke machine, but I'm not sure they need it if they're going to set fire to the stage. As for Lithuania, their entrant might stand a chance if she fires her backup dancer. Not only does he have a creepy sex smile, but he also plays hide and seek with her dress. I found you, Chrome Dome! The Swiss entry sees a lead singer trying to sing, whistle, play the violin and the drums all at the same time, which, if memory serves me correctly, never really works out. Romania's entry is a song called Miracle, and I'm guessing it took a miracle for that guy to get that girl. I mean, look at them. And Belarus have seemingly kidnapped Robin Thicke. For SBS, I'm Mark Humphries.
Thank you, Mark. Incidentally, isn't war about to break out in Ukraine?
No, Tom. Eurovision is in Copenhagen this year.
Right. Well, next up, the federal budget is looming in the national calendar. And like passengers on a carnival ride that's come off its axis, the country is bracing itself for some deep cuts. And the Abbott government's first budget does seem like it's going to be rough for them, because even the coalition's solutions, like the proposed deficit levy, are causing them a lot of problems.
The move ignores warnings a tax slug will slow economic growth.
The dreaded tax slug, slowly chewing its way through our nation's finances. But Tony Abbott ignored conventional wisdom and put the good news out first, because according to one unnamed minister,
the deficit levy will be one of the more popular things in the budget.
Popular in the same way that for someone being tortured, sleep deprivation day is more popular than waterboard Wednesdays. So this means that the Prime Minister, seen here reminiscing about how much easier it was to be in opposition, is on the back foot. Luckily, though, the coalition has a plan to win back the hearts of Australia. Yes, I do. But just in case the coalition can't bake 23 million smiley cookies, Finance Minister Matthias Cormann released some light reading for voters. A glossy 64-page propaganda document entitled Labor's Mess. And you got to give it to the coalition for being so thorough. It's been 8 months since they beat Labor in the election and they're still campaigning. So what's the point of this document? Well, if you ask Matthias Cormann, it's to help inform the public debate. Though the only thing it's informing me of is how terrified I should be of Labor. There are scary fonts, dramatic colours, biased information. If I didn't know any better, I'd say they were trying to get me to read a 64-page attack ad.
Racing, no. Drive, not really interested. Labor's Mess. Press play.
Welcome to the reading guide for your propaganda document, Labor's Mess. First of all, wherever you are, turn off or dim your lights. Next, pick up the document and drop it on the table.
Oh, Jesus.
Next, look at that scary front page. Place 2 hands on the document at opposite corners, and upon the commencement of the eerie violin, rotate the document and move your head closer towards it. Now put your hand over your mouth and in a deep voice say Labor's Mess.
Labor's Mess. Oh, God, that is terrifying. I'm going to move on.
To page 20 and take out your rubber stamper. Dip it in the flammable ink and stamp it on the page.
Right, that is it. I am definitely not voting Labour in the last election.
So if that terrifying, burning book is to be believed, this horror budget that they're about to put us through is all Labor's fault. And they could have a point, because the document comparing the state of the economy under Labor in 2013 to the state of the economy under Howard in 2007 does show a pretty stark contrast.
I know, right? Labor really cocked things up. I was reading this document, and just look at all the money Labor put down the sink. I'm pretty sure that's $55. It's a good thing our money's waterproof and our drains aren't money size, or we'd all be f***ed. And $55 poorer. But not to worry, since this document shows all the great work done by the coalition between 1996 and 2007, I can only assume that that dream team is now back to set things right. Treasurer Peter Costello balancing the books, Finance Minister Nick Minchin crunching the numbers, and Prime Minister John Howard leading this fiscal rat pack back to surplus like a stingy Frank Sinatra.
Yeah, no, Nick, none of them are back. It's the Abbott government now.
What?
Yeah.
Then this means nothing? What's the point of talking up your own credentials by citing someone else's? You're telling me that this is 64 pages of Liberal Party fan fiction and Peter Costello doesn't even end up getting naked?
Yeah. Well, I don't think he does. I didn't make it to the end.
Nope. Damn it! He doesn't. Liberal Party, you have wasted my time.
We'll be back in a moment.
Petey?
Hey guys, have you ever referenced something from the past to prove a point about the future? How relevant was it? Was it irrelevant? We'd love to hear about it at the Roast TV or hashtag RoastTV.
Finally tonight, Fairfax journalists have gone on strike to protest the planned axing of 80 full-time staff from The Age and the Sydney Morning Herald. And with no journalists in their offices, it does look like they have stolen the business model of news.com.au. A number of Fairfax's articles today were attributed to staff reporters, who are either anonymous employees avoiding being called a scab, or Jaden, the exhausted work experience kid who probably thought he was just going to print things and photocopy his butt. And Jaden today confirmed that despite the lack of staff, Fairfax will continue to publish its print and digital publications. So maybe the old tactic of, oh, just you wait and see how well you do without me, wasn't the best one to go with.
No, look, it just feels like you don't appreciate me. I'm gonna go to my brother's house. See how you cope without me.
No, please don't go.
Well, I'm sure she's learnt her lesson by now. Baby, I'm back.
Yeah. About that. I've actually had a lot of time to think lately, and I just think the place is a lot cleaner without you here, and I've saved a lot of money. And maybe we should just break up for real, I think. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
But baby, you were supposed to realise how much you needed me.
Oh yeah, and unfortunately for him, RSVP is owned by Fairfax. It was also reported that 30 photographers would lose their jobs and that Fairfax would rely on Getty Images for the bulk of its photographic work. And while sure that's cost effective, if they had used that stock image policy in the past, we'd have seen headlines like Twin Towers attacked, diplomatic relations sour between Australia and Indonesia, and Barack Obama elected president, then re-elected. And while losing staff photographers would be a big loss, losing print media altogether would be almost unimaginable. Alex Lee, is that a possibility?
Yes, it is, Tom. Print media is dying, and with it goes the tradition of investigative print journalism. If journalists want to stay employed, we're going to have to adapt to an online content model that's working. And customers want that clickbait, titillating style of journalism. They want lists of 33 dogs who cannot even handle it right now.
This dog, he seriously can't even handle it.
So it's time for real journalists like myself to adapt to this new style.
Oh, what does that look like?
You will not even believe what it looks like.
Oh, tell me what it looks like, please.
If I told you, it could literally blow your mind.
Oh, now I have to know. Please tell me just where to click.
Well, get ready for this, Tom. What this triple Walkley award-winning Fairfax journalist said to management about the strike will change the way you think about journalism.
Yeah, that headline's a little too long. Can you tell it to me in a series of shareable GIFs?
Very well. Fairfax management are all like, ah, because the print industry has been... And so the worker is all like, I can't even right now. I am so outie.
Interesting. But is there some sort of quiz that could tell me which SAC staff member at Fairfax I am?
Oh, I cannot even handle this right now. I'm outie.
All right, thanks, Alex. But there is another way for Fairfax to save money. If they want to cover today's issues, like the coalition's broken promises and the introduction of a new levy, they could just reuse old front pages from 1979.
Hey, it turns out the Abbott government can claim Howard's legacy. Good night. Still no naked Costello, though.
No.
What's up with that?